Hi, and welcome back. This week I'm going to be talking about what happens when you get spiritual tough love and how you can think you're going down the right path and that the stars are aligning, and then something happens that kind of pulls you right back out of it and makes you relook at yourself and asks you to go deeper within. And I'm also going to be answering a few questions that I received from you guys. So if you're interested, keep on watching. Hello everyone, welcome back. Today, or this week, we're going to be talking about spiritual tough love and the knocks that it brings you sometimes. So, last week was a big week. I got like the first download of the activation for the Diamond Light Matrix, which you guys have heard, and it was a big thing for me. And I felt like so, how do I say it? Like so excited that the alignment finally happened because, you know, I've been waiting for a while. And I had this feeling of alignment because it involved the connection of working with one of you, and then the next day after I recorded that podcast, I was doing the final course of my Gene Keys program that I've been studying, and YoSoy.red read a poem by someone named Grandma Sasa, and he recommended that we go and Google her and look her up. And of course I didn't, because I feel like I never have enough time in the day, but one of my classmates texted me and she said, oh, you have to look up this person. And so I did, and sure enough, the reason was because she also talks about being a crystal keeper, or crystal grid keeper, and that she actually also buries crystals in certain locations around the world. And I felt like, okay, and she's a Native American medicine woman, and I had this feeling that night like something's going on, and I kind of started to doubt myself. Like I started feeling like I'm putting out the messages that I'm getting, right? And I know that they're not coming from me because I couldn't make this stuff up. But I also sometimes feel like it's bigger than me, and who am I to be putting it out, right? So I got scared, and I decided to reach out to this woman named Sandra Walter, who her name was given to me back in February by Kat Fowler, who, when she read my Akashic Records, told me, look, what you're seeing is called the Diamond Light Matrix, and there's actually a woman out there that she had interviewed, and her name is Sandra Walter. And she said, listen to that episode. This is the work that she does. And I was like, oh wow, there's someone else out there that knows what I'm talking about. You know, I was so excited. So of course I Googled her and I went to her website, and it showed that she was doing something called a crystalline convergence on the summer solstice in Sedona in June. And without me even knowing anything about this woman, I signed up. I was like, I am going to be there. I'm going to be around people that know what I'm talking about, and I'm not going to feel like I'm a weirdo. And, you know, like I got overly excited. So much so that I also invited my mom and my best friend to come with too, because I was like, let's make it a girls' trip. And everything felt like it aligned. And then I let it go. Like I didn't keep researching Sandra and her work. I just thought, like, you know, when I go to this thing in the summer, it's going to be like kind of like a like-minded group of people that I am going to be able to talk to and understand more about this. And then, like I said, after last week when I got the download of the activation, then I kind of got nervous, and I reached out to her just on her Instagram message, and I explained the whole situation and how I started seeing the grid, and that then nothing. I had learned of her name through Kat Fowler, and then I had signed up for her convergence in Sedona. And then basically I'm like pouring my heart out to this woman and being like, okay, and then this week I got this activation that this is what I'm supposed to share. And I told her what what I heard and what I felt and all that stuff. And I wrote it like at midnight that night. And then when I woke up, there was already a message back from her. And basically, you know, she confirmed, yeah, you're tapping into the matrix. And then she said, the Sedona convergence is for master level grid keepers, and that I would need to be taking her courses before attending this thing in Sedona. And it's funny because my first reaction was, or what I felt inside was kind of like hurt, but also like, oh, you know, like, oh, I'm not prepared. I mean, but then again, like I had never met anyone that's doing this work, so maybe I am not prepared. And I kind of went into this place of, oh, really? I didn't know. And I wrote her back and I said, I didn't know it was for master level grid keepers, and I haven't taken any of your courses. Honestly, I don't know anything about you, but I said, I felt like when Kat told me about you, I felt like it was like a place of like-minded people, right? And she was, and basically she was like, no, you may not be ready for this energy, and if you want to, you would need to take such and such courses that she offers before this summer solstice. So then I wrote back and I said, well, actually, not only did I sign up, but I got my mom and my best friend to sign up too. And they are not on this path. They don't see the grid, you know. And she said, yeah, I think that would be too much for them to handle. So then she was very kind and generous, and she definitely asked if we wanted a refund, and we were able to get a refund, and it's all fine. And then she said to me, you know, if you want to, you can sign up for the like live recording of the event instead of being in the, you know, person. And because I had said, we're going to still go to Sedona, but we're just not going to go to your event. And then, so she said, yeah, well, you can do the live version of it on computer. And I said, well, I'm actually going to be in Sedona. I'm not going to be sitting at my computer. And she said, oh, you can listen to it later whenever you're ready to hear this master level crystalline conversion of the grid keepers. And then I got this feeling that something's off. Something doesn't feel right here. And what I've been doing lately is if I feel like I'm confused between my intuition and my mind, thinking like, oh, I'm so attached to having someone else to talk to about this that knows what they're talking about, I then ignore my intuition. And so when that happens, and I'm guilty of it, not all the time, but I notice a lot of times it happens when I really am excited to sign up to do something that's new. Yet there's a part of me that knows I already have too much on my plate, and taking on another thing will only make me feel more like I already don't feel like I have enough hours in the day. So adding another thing is just another thing. And so whenever I'm in that position, I go to my pendulum and I ask. And so right at that moment, I felt like this is something I need to ask the pendulum, because I don't know the answer. Something in me is saying this isn't right. So of course I check, and I had her website up on my computer, and I brought the pendulum over and I said, is this like energy? Is this who I'm supposed to work with? And it was like, not only was it a no, but it was like a huge like no. And it was hard, you know, at one point, like because at that morning when I first got her first email, I told Richard, like, oh my God, I made a mistake. I thought that I was so excited about having someone else and another group of people to, you know, have this conversations with. And yet I am not part of that group. Like she's saying, I am not welcome in a way, you know, like that I'm not prepared and that whatever. And then by that night is when I got the pendulum out, and basically I just felt like something's off. Something is very off in the sense of, number one, if I am seeing this matrix, which I am, I go back to how would I handle somebody asking me like advice or, telling me that they also tap into it. And my answer is that I would be so loving and open and, excited. And her energy was not that. It was like, not, she wasn't saying you don't know what you're talking about, because clearly she said, yeah, you're tapping into it. But she was right away, you're not of this, like you haven't taken my courses to get you to this place of master. And I don't believe that. I don't believe that that's how it works. And I think that was my first feeling of disappointment, because here this whole time, I want to say that, at least from the interview that I heard of her, she's been doing this work since I think the late 90s. So she's been doing it for a while. So it's not like she's new to it. And that's why I was excited, like, oh, maybe she's going to be my next teacher. And the disappointment was, no, she's not. And it's hard. It's hard when you're on this path, and a lot of the work is when you have to do it alone. And I know that, and I go inside myself for most of it, but once in a while you do hope that you find people that will be along your path that help to guide you, right? So when the pendulum said, nope, this is not you, this is not for you, the next day I decided to go into the records and ask, what's going on here? So this is the question. I said, what's happening with Sandra Walter? Because, essentially my higher self knows what's going on, so I don't have to explain what happened. But it said, it's not your energy of frequency. You are here for a separate connection point. You need to let those in this frequency come to you. Stop trying to fit into the mold of another. This is a new birth that only you will be able to teach yourself. It is all exactly as it is supposed to be. So then I said, is Sandra accessing the same matrix? And she, meaning me, my higher self, said, yes, but in a different way. She uses codes. You will use energy and frequency, and that of like to like. She isn't your like. It's not one vibration, and will take many different schools to create. So when I am in the records, I do automatic writing up to this week. I've been doing automatic writing, but it's not all coming through the pen. Like, I'll get like these impressions or just, I always say downloads because I don't know how else to describe it. But what I saw or what I felt is that we all have our own unique frequency, our own unique energy, right? And what they're saying is that she is doing her work. Yes, she is tapping into this energy grid, but it's not my energy. And so therefore they're saying, stop trying to fit somewhere that you don't belong. You knew it from the beginning. It doesn't fit. Let it go. And yet here my personality is just trying to find someone that understands what I'm going through. And basically the answer is I can't. Let's say if I didn't have that insight to reach out to her, I would have gone to Sedona, and I probably would have been more disappointed because I would have had all this expectation and hope that her and her group would have been something that they never will be. It clearly isn't my vibration. So I felt disappointed, and I felt like, I have to say, I felt disappointed because I had hope, but at the same time, I'm glad that it all worked out, and that not only did I not put myself through that, but also not my mom and my friend, because they would have, probably not had a good time after planning this trip since February. So all of that is great, but what I keep coming back to is that we look outside of ourselves, and even you guys listening to me, we all are hoping to find that vibration that makes us feel like we're not in this ourselves. And what I learned in this lesson is that I think there are some people and some stories, like let's say my journey, that will resonate and that is of your vibration and that you feel like, oh, someone understands me, right? But at the end of the day, we each are our own people. We each are our own gifts to this existence. And when I look and I have hope to find a teacher, it's not always what I need. I'm looking, it's almost like I'm looking for an easy track to something in a way, because it's harder to sit with the unknown, and it's harder to create the unknown. And ultimately that's where I was at in that moment. I felt like, okay, I got this huge download this week. Now I just want verification, or I want someone to tell me what's next. And that's not, I don't think that's how spirit works through us. I really am the more and more convinced that we have to do the work and be in meditation and do the daily ritual practice of going inward, because we each are here to bring our own unique expression of, let's say, if it is this matrix, even if everybody in this group sees it, we all are here for a different part of it. And I struggle with that. I struggle because right now, I do have Puma Freddy Singona right now that I am studying underneath. He's a shaman in Peru. But other than him, I don't have a teacher right now. And there are times where I feel a little lonely and sometimes lost, although I have a zillion things that I'm working on. I think we were all raised to believe that we're never good enough. We always have to be studying and searching and looking for that guidance. And essentially this week the message was stop. And I'm saying that for you guys too. I know that there are like modalities that we each have and we want to learn, and that's fine. That there's nothing wrong with that. But when it comes to like trying to find this like energy that you will then be able to look to someone as your guru, I guess, it doesn't exist anymore. It's not meant to exist. We are all here at this moment to bring our own energy and to create, like, break the constructs of that paradigm or that mold that we've all been taught that we need to study underneath someone. And it's a hard one. The more that I have thought about it this week, it really is a hard one. And it really isn't the first time that I've heard it. Like, I know that since the end of October, I've been going inward and I've been finding the next steps inside. But like, I'm human too. And I got this, I guess, like, I latched onto the desire to have it figured out for me. And I think that's where the spiritual ascension kind of gets it wrong. I think that we have to really go in. There is no easy answer, and there is no one that's going to tell us, oh, this worked for this person, so this is the path that you need to be on. At least the more that I get into this, the more I see that. And it's hard. It's really hard. So I wanted to share that with you guys so that you understand too that I am here and I'm sharing myself, because even the hard things and the tough love that you get from spirit, it's all for your development, right? And it's all exactly how it's supposed to be. And I think we have to stop, like, I don't know, kidding ourselves that we can have these grandiose hopes for our lives, like in the sense of being completely letting go of the ego and opening up to spirit, but then to think it's going to look like this linear path of studying underneath someone. I don't think that is what it is anymore. And it's funny, the more that I try to bring it back to that place, I get like slapped in the face every time. So I wanted to share that because I want you guys to know the struggle that it is, and instead of being discouraged, understand that what it's saying is that it's all inside. It's not outside. I mean, this person has her own school of thought and her own like following. And I think that is okay for some people, but even though we see the same matrix, we're still not the same vibration. So it's mind-blowing, right? But it's so true. And when I went back and read her original email back to me, oh my God, I don't know why I didn't see it from the very beginning, right? Because my ego was like attaching and wanting to be secure underneath what she's going to tell me. And then when I went back and read it, no, from the very beginning, she wasn't like me. She wasn't me. There wasn't that, like that feeling of being welcomed home or feeling like you are now with a soul family member. It wasn't that. So, yeah. So I also got some questions this week from you guys, and I went into the records, and it started with Aisha asking me after last week's episode some questions about the Matrix and how and her role, and also basically everybody's role, and why are we being called to this. And it's funny because she emailed and asked, and me, my person, I was like, I don't know the answer, because I don't know the answer in my body, right? Like in me. So I said, I'm gonna find out. I'm gonna ask the records what's going on. So the question was, is it part of our, meaning like, let's say the listeners, soul contract to be part of this matrix? So this is what the records replied. Each energy is its own key. No two are the same, and together you will complete a puzzle that will turn it on. So, did you agree to share your energy with this activation? You all hoped that you would be able to. You can also decide you're not ready. There is no judgment. If you feel the call in your body to know, you'll know it's time. There is nothing forcing anyone. You get there by vibration. Once your vibration is matching the key, it turns on. And then they said, remember, like equals like. So essentially, what I take, I want you guys to know that I'm basically translating the download, right? So that's the words that came out of the pen. But when I then go back and explain, it's me kind of making the picture fuller, I guess. So essentially, we each are our own piece. I carry a vibration that is putting out the call, let's say. And if there is something in you that feels that call, and it feels like this is going to sound weird, but it's almost like my vibration goes into your heart chakra and turns the key. And that inside of you, there's just this recognition of yes. It's like such a deep resounding in your like heart space of this. It's almost like this. You've done this many lifetimes. You feel it, right? And all that I am is the key to say, this is the vibration, and then you guys in your own lives are deciding in your own lives, if you're listening to this podcast, you have a desire to raise your vibration. That's number one. Because if you weren't, this wouldn't resonate with you, and you wouldn't be doing this work. So what happens is that me putting the vibration out, it sends us like a code to your heart space, and it turns it on, right? But essentially, you yourself are your own piece of the puzzle. I am one piece, you are another piece, this one is another piece. We all and in the matrix, it looks like we each have our own stations in the matrix. So the question is it part of your soul contract? It's something that they said that we all had the hope of being able to understand and do while we are in this incarnation. But life is difficult, and I am like the walking poster child of this. I didn't turn on and care about my vibration until later in my life. So you can go through your whole life and never get to that place of wanting to know that side of yourself. But they're saying, so there is no judgment, but once you in your body decide it's time to start listening to your soul, that's like the ignition, right? And then yes, you will always be working on raising your vibration, but that ignition is turned on. So then when someone comes along and it feels like they have the key, or they hold the vibration, the key to your soul, you'll feel it. There isn't like I don't know, there's no me trying to convince you. So like, I'm going to give this example of my best friend. She doesn't listen to this podcast, and when that download came in about the crystal and burying the crystal and meditating on the crystal, I called her and I told her, because I knew she wasn't going to be listening to the podcast. And her reaction was, I don't want to bury any of my crystals. I love my crystals. And then my reaction was, oh, okay, that's cool. And I just said, it's just, you're not carrying this vibration, and that's totally fine. Like, and I don't think she is. Like, truly, if she was, and by that I mean, if this was calling to her, she would want to hear what I have to say about it, right? And there wouldn't have been that, but my crystal is more important than the activation and pulling it through my body. So even though she's such a close person to me in my physical life, she's not that vibration. And I know I can't force that key in the lock, and nor do I want to. So what I want you guys to understand is, if it feels right, and that's what you need to follow. It's not my place, and it's not your place, anyone's place, to convince anyone that they are of this matrix, right? We all decide in our own bodies if it resonates. So then the second question she had was, how did we decide that we wanted to be part of this activation? So they said, all souls currently embodied had the hope to be a part of this evolution. It's hard to remember when you are embodied, so only those that are able to remember decide to raise their vibration to do so. Again, it feels like a call, and they then give me this impression of, again, it's like, and this like equals like comes up a lot, because you can't, like, imagine trying to find your soulmate. If you're not of that same vibration as the soulmate that you agreed to incarnate and be a partner with, you won't meet. It's not physically possible. So your vibration has to pull it in. And if you decide, let's say your soul wanted to be part of this activation, but yet your physical person has decided that they're not ready. They don't want to. They're, they like crystals, but that's as far as they want to take it. That's okay. And I always say that there is no judgment, because that's like the thing they hammer home all the time. Because we have this, I don't know, like this inferiority or inferior complex of one is better than the other, and it's not the case. We all have in soul space the knowing of what we hope for this planet, let's say. And we all say, like, yeah, I want to be a part of that evolution. But then you get into this body, and you become raised by the parents that you were raised by, and you have all these, let's say, your career and your kids and your life, and it's overwhelming. And that a lot of the times shuts down the part of you that wants to remember why you're here. And the thing, and why there is no judgment, is because, dude, some people took on like life path lessons that are difficult, and it's no wonder that they aren't capable to open up that side of themselves. So that's why there is no judgment, because we don't know, and you cannot be in the shoes of another, right? Like, all I know is what I went through, and my upbringing, and my shadows, and my work that I have to do, and I'm taking the steps to work on them. But I can't look at my best friend and say, what's wrong with you? You know, you're seeing a teacher, you like crystals, you know, like whatever. You're a good person. So why don't you get this vibration? We have to go through the turbulence of working on our earthly stuff before you can set this part of yourself alight in a way. So did you guys decide that you wanted to be part of this activation? Yeah, we all did. But what I would say too is that honor where you are in the process. And if you are listening to this, yeah, you are. You're supposed to be here. And know that you're going to carry your own unique key into it. I'm just talking about it because that is like, you know, the messages that I get is I have to share. And it's this like this deepest desire or push, or I don't even know how to describe it, that I've never experienced my entire life. You know, it's almost like this passion project that I don't have a choice. It has to come out. And because I feel that, I do this, right? And I'm sharing my life, and I'm sharing everything that happens, because I feel like when spirit takes you over, you're just the body to get the messages out. So if I'm talking to you and you somehow found this podcast, there's a reason. and if I don't repel you and you don't think I'm a nut job, there's a reason. So yes, you're supposed to be here. Okay, so then I also asked if anyone else had other questions, because I knew I was going to answer those questions. So we had another listener that is named Lindsay, and she had quite a few. So I got into those with the records, and I'm going to share them with you all, because I think that they are mostly earthly questions that I think we all wanted to know. And same with me. I mean, you know, I am curious as well. So the first one is, how do we access our Akashic records? So this is their answer. It's a vibration that needs to be reached to be understood. It's not a language, it's an understanding, and then you translate it into words. You are feeling the answers, and you do this because that is how you hear and understand. And by you, I mean, they were saying that's how I get the messages. They're saying I feel the answers, and then I hear them. It's like, not just, I don't get visuals. Actually, I take that back. I'll get some like little twinges of visuals, but it's not like what I imagine clairvoyance to be, so I never credit them. It feels more like a download of information. So, and then I translate them into words. But then they said some will have visuals, others sound. The main way is by raising your vibration to allow the frequencies into your way of processing and understanding and comprehending. So, you know, I have in the past definitely shared with how I learned how to read the Akashic records. I'll share it again below this. But essentially, if you haven't already, I would start following the YoSoy.red podcast. It's by Lucia and Lorena, and they are the most down-to-earth girls that I honestly have probably met in the spiritual life, because they teach from their hearts, and they're doing it because, again, when you have spirit moving through you, you don't have a choice. It is your call to share. And that's what I feel from them. So that is how I learned. Essentially, though, what they're saying is that we all have access to it. It's by raising our vibration. So for me personally, and this is how I am with meditation too, I meditate first thing in the morning before I have even eaten anything, because I know on an empty stomach, it's easier for me to get into that higher vibrational place. So even when I go into the records, same thing. I am trying to be a clear vessel, and so that my body's not working, digesting, whatever. Or if I have eaten, it's usually like only a green juice or fruit smoothie, you know, something that's natural. So when you are trying to access your Akashic records, that would be my suggestion, is how do you raise your vibration? You know, first meditating, clearing your mind so that it's not on the hamster wheel and you're disconnected from the soul. And then being silent and sitting in silence. And by that, I mean, like, you're not preoccupied with the things that are happening in this life. And so that you are like a clear slate for the information to come through. Now they call it, they said it's a vibration. So yeah, that's how. Okay. The second question is, how do we, the finding and living our soul's purpose with intention? So the answer is, once the mind isn't distracted, it's always there. It's you, and it cannot be separate from you. That's why when you are not aligned, you feel off, lonely, and disconnected. That's your soul's calling. Oh, that's your soul calling you home, and that silent place inside. There are so many distractions that are so much louder than your soul. So you need to become sensitive again. That's why when you do, they're talking to me. That's why when you do plant medicines, you connect easier. Your distractions are limited, and you go intently, you go into yourself. Imagine being able to tap into that frequency whenever you want. It's coming. Some will not want to know themselves that intimately. And then they said, start getting to know that part of yourself now. The plant medicines are training to help you know what it feels like to go into the constructs of yourself. Again, not everyone is ready to let go, but there is no judgment. So this one is basically, to find your soul's purpose with intention. It's there. It's you. You're not separate from it. It's just, how quiet can you quiet your daily life and that chattering mind to find it, to be it, to live it. I think there's a misconception that we have to do something and search for something. When I look back at my life, it's always been me. I always have been so sensitive, like afraid to be around people, overwhelmed by people. It always was there. From, I'm sure, being a baby, if we ask my mom, it's just, I didn't know how to read it, right? No one taught me like, oh, this is why you're this way. But I feel like we live in a different time, and that we can access teachings online for free for all of this. So I look at that as it's special. Like, we are here and this is all happening, and we have the tools for a reason. Otherwise, it would all be hidden like it was in my childhood, right? So essentially, when we say, how do we find it? You go in. And by going in, that means you spend time alone. You go into nature. You meditate in nature. And you start loving you. Not only you, like your soul, but you, your body, you, the vessel, you, everything. And putting yourself as the first priority, and everything else is a second. And that is even the same when we talk about kids. You cannot be who you came here to be for children if you aren't nurturing first you. And then they brought up the plant medicines as, I'm sure because it's on my mind, but basically they're saying that the plant medicines basically take away that part of us that is the mind and the thinking and the waiting, when is it going to happen? When am I going to see it? When am I going to get these gifts? All of that, it's almost like it disintegrates when you let go into the experience of plant medicines. Now, that doesn't have to be ayahuasca. It could be something as simple as the flower essences. It could be cacao. It could be something that's way more mild than ayahuasca. But at the same time, and I've talked about this before, it's allowing the vibration that's nature actually into your body. And therefore, you start attuning, and it's almost like practicing to get on the rhythm of the frequency of nature. So they're literally training wheels for us. And then they said something really interesting, and I'm going to read it again. Imagine being able to tap into that frequency whenever you want. It's coming. And the feeling that I had is that all of this, at least in my life, and how I am so now open to the signs, the messages, the medicines is all because the download that I got was that there is coming a time where we all are going to become open, meaning open vessels, open to understanding our souls in a much clearer, like veil lifted way. And the medicines are a way to help like dip your toe in and slowly get into it, versus what will happen in this planet if it happens all at once. Like, let's look at the people that are in the world and, not at all connected to their souls. Most likely it's going to be a lot of, imagine it, really hardship, because if you've never been part of that, of yourself in that way, I'm sure it will be overwhelmed, and then you'll feel really disappointed that you didn't realize that side of yourself. You'll be beating yourself up. I think there'll be a lot of confusion. So why do I feel the call to keep going back to plant medicine is to know myself, to know that this is who I am, and to be prepared. It's almost like, it's a training wheels to prepare for the unveiling of us, right? Like, now I feel like I know who I am, and I've seen who I am. I know that there's still more to learn, but I won't be surprised, because I already have been doing the work to train myself to that frequency of my higher soul. Okay, the next question was the difference between karmic relationships, twin flames, soulmates, etc., and how do we recognize them, and if they're needing to have cut karmic cords with any of them. Okay, this is another tough love one. And I remember as I was channeling this, I totally was like, isn't there anything nice you can say? So I'm putting that out there just to bear with the fact that it's pretty black and white. Okay. These are all human labels to make you feel better or more connected to what you vibrate toward. There is only this moment, and it should not be labeled. If you are concerned with the label, you are not in your body and in this moment sharing yourself with love, but rather stuck in what once was or could have been. Why? That's the better question. Every single person that crosses your path is a gift. Can you accept the gift without the attachment to what will happen? Vibrate as high as possible to call in your ideal match. And if you call in a challenging experience, that's what your soul needs to learn before it can accept what is, rather than whether with or without a mate. It is true freedom of self and self-expression. That is true freedom of self and self-expression. And then I brought up, okay, what about cutting cords? And they said, if a relationship is over and one or the other has ended it and you are still thinking about the other, yes, there are energetic threads between you two. And if you no longer want to feel that energy, ask for your energy back and ask to only be reconnected if more lessons are to be learned together. Attachment is really the lesson here. Can you get to a place of non-attachment to all that is? So, look, I don't know a lot about these different things of karmic relationships, twin flames, and soulmates. So when this question came up, my personality thought let's see, because I don't know. But I think the lesson here is, why are we labeling these relationships? Everybody, every single person down to the grocery store checkout person is on your path for a reason. So do we need to label them? And is it our mind that wants a label so that we can be on that hamster wheel thinking about it over and over and over? And then you can, once the person is labeled as a twin flame or a karmic relationship, then what? You can file it away? Or you can keep obsessing about it. And when is it going to come back? And all of that. And I think, from what I understand, their twin flame has a lot of drama with it. why. The question that I get back from them, or the answer I got back, is if you're still asking those questions, then you're not like still enough. You're still in your head. You're still trying to make sense of something that is like, and I feel like the more we get closer to the spiritual side of ourselves, those things, they're not labeled, and there is no absolute in anything. Knowing that everyone that comes into your life is literally a gift, whether it be for positive, or whether you view it as positive and a love connection, or someone that's challenging and makes you grow. In the spiritual level, it's all love, right? It literally is all love. That person agreed to help you on your path, and therefore it is love, regardless of if they're going to be your partner for the rest of your life in this incarnation. So the question that they ask is like, can you be in the moment and actually accept each person as the gift that they are, without the attachment that our personality wants to put on them? And I understand that when you're single, because I was single until I was 35, so I understand, okay? I don't want you guys to think like I don't have any compassion about this question. But I can now also see why it is so harsh. I spent 10 years of my life like looking, trying, hoping, for that person to find me, or for me to find them. So I understand why we do it, and it's this desire to have like in a way, check that box off. And if you're like still trying to have children, your clock is ticking, and you have all these set goals in life. And I had them too. So I'm not in any, again, judging anything. But now, from the perspective that I'm at today, I can see why I was not in the right state of mind. I was hoping, and I was searching for something that I should have been looking for inside first, before trying to find it in a mirror from someone else. So I apologize that it is so harsh, and but I think that it's a lesson we all need to hear. Really, at the end of the day, everyone is here to love you in their own way, and even in this plane, if it looks like drama or karmic or twin flame or soulmate, it's all love, because there is no good or bad. It's everything. We are everything. And the last question is signs that we have balanced our karma, and signs that we are replaying karma. And this one's hard too, so prepare. If you are here in this experience, you have more to learn and experience. The balance comes when the mind and thoughts are clear, and you no longer pull the lesson forward into your life. So yeah, we all are here. I mean, we're here. There's karma everywhere. Like literally, there's karma in every action we take, and it all ripples out. And it's like, I don't believe that we ever are not going to be learning in this life, because this is the school of life. This is literally where we are here to play out these scenarios so that we can grow. So when is the sign of having balanced karma? No. As long as you are in this plane, no, there's no balance. There's only learning. There's only like constantly like going through challenges to see how you're going to react to them. Are you going to be reactive, or are you going to take it in and reflect inward about what it is that you need to work on? And then signs that you are repaying karma, I don't believe that either. Honestly, I think that we all have played every role that exists in life, and it's also that we can be a reflection of it, right? So that we can get to a place of understanding it in the other that's playing it out right now. So I think we have to take off the pressures of these labels. I understand that they're there, and I understand that a lot of people talk about them, but I am seeing it as, if you're caught up in the labels, you're not going to the truth of what is. And the truth of what is love, and nothing is every single action and reaction is love. Yeah. So that was the tough love from Spirit this week. And I hope that it was helpful for me. This week it's hard. It's hard when you have your hopes and you have your dreams and you have your ideas of what you hope life to be and what you hope like teachers to be and labels to be. But at the end of the day, if it's coming from your mind, it feels like 10 times out of 10, it's not real. And our job is to get out of the thinking mind and into the heart and realizing that it's all love. If we can get to that love space, then that's what will be reflected back to you. So I hope you guys have a good week, and I'll talk to you again next week. If you haven't already, subscribe below. And if you haven't heard, I have a podcast, and I have started the journey in that medium. So it's called My Leap of Faith. And it starts from being stuck in the matrix to being where I'm at right now. And I share all of the ups and downs and all the things that got me to this point. And I know that it's always going to be a journey, but I think that it's about sharing the journey that makes us all feel less alone. So I would love to see you there.